I was born a twin, but from day one it felt like I was born into a competition I didn't sign up for. My brother Liam and I shared everything. A room, a birthday, even the same toys when we were little. But what we didn't share, what was reserved only for him, was our parents' love. Or at least, that's how it felt growing up. Liam was the golden child, quiet, studious, the type of kid who'd color within the lines and then go sharpen the crayons. I was the opposite, loud, social, into sports and making friends. From as early as I can remember, our parents praised him and punished me. If he got an A, they took him out for ice cream. If I got a B, they asked why it wasn't an A. If I tripped and skinned my knee, they told me to stop being so clumsy. If Liam got a paper cut, the world stopped. I tried to be like him for a while. I really did, but every time I tried to fit into the box they had for him, it felt like I was suffocating. I loved sports, team activities, and late night talks with friends. I was never the type to sit quietly for hours with a book, and that made me the problem child in their eyes. Birthdays were the worst. Every year, Liam had some extravagant party with a theme, a cake with his name front and center, and all his friends from school. I was told to share the party, but it never really felt like mine. I got maybe a few balloons and a pat on the head. I wasn't even allowed to bring friends over without asking permission weeks in advance. And even then, it was usually a no. Liam had sleepovers nearly every other weekend. My grandmother was the only one who saw me. She'd sneak me chocolate bars and tell me stories about when she was a girl. She never took sides, but I could tell she knew what was happening. She'd slip me a few dollars every time she visited and told me to buy something nice for myself. It was the closest thing to love I felt in that house. Then came high school. I started excelling in sports, track, soccer, and eventually basketball. My grades were decent too, mostly B's and the occasional A, but it was never enough. My parents said sports were a distraction. They wanted me to focus on academics like Liam. I wanted to go to college on an athletic scholarship. They wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, like Liam was supposedly going to be. I got grounded for having Snapchat, not for doing anything bad, just for having the app. They said it was a gateway to trouble. They didn't trust me. They took my door off the hinges. I wish I was exaggerating. I had no privacy, no outlet, and no one in that house who believed in me. And then Liam turned on me. It started small, little lies to get out of trouble. If something broke, it was suddenly my fault. If he missed curfew, he claimed I distracted him. At first it was annoying, but I figured it would blow over. It didn't. He started spreading rumors at school, told people I was violent, that I hit him, that I had anger issues. He even showed up to school one day with a black eye and claimed I gave it to him, but I didn't. He did it to himself, punched himself in the mirror. I found out later he used frozen spoons to bruise his skin, and people believed him. He played the victim perfectly. Meanwhile, I was cast as the bully. Teachers started giving me weird looks. Friends stopped texting me back. At first, I didn't understand why, but then I heard the whispers. The rumors had spread, and by then, it was too late to stop them. Even my ex-best friend stopped talking to me. When I asked her what was going on, she told me straight up, "Your brother says you hit him, that you're a bully." I laughed. I couldn't believe it, but she didn't laugh back. She believed him. I confronted Liam. I begged him to stop, told him he was ruining my life. You know what he said? He smirked and said, "You deserve to rot alone." I wanted to tell my parents. God, I wanted to so badly, but I knew they'd never believe me, not over him. Things came to a head when the school got involved. Apparently the principal had been hearing things too. Teachers had reported concerns. Students were saying I was dangerous. The principal called us both in, Liam and me, and our parents. I thought maybe this would be the moment he confessed, that seeing me cry in front of our principal and parents would shake something in him. It didn't. He doubled down, told them I had violent outbursts, that I hit him when our parents weren't looking. He made up stories so specific and believable that I started to question my own memory. My mom started crying. My dad stared at me like I was a stranger. The principal told me I was suspended for 10 days. I broke down right there, begged them not to believe him, pleaded with the principal, swore on everything that I was innocent. None of it mattered. When we got home, my dad told me to start packing. Just like that. No discussion, no investigation, just pack your bags. My mom didn't stop him. She just kept crying and saying she couldn't believe I turned out this way. I begged Liam to tell the truth. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Bye." My grandmother came to pick me up. She was furious, screamed at my dad, said if he tried to contact me again, she'd call CPS. For the first time, I saw her as more than my sweet Nana. She was a storm in a floral blouse. I moved in with her. She gave me a room, a lock on the door, and something I hadn't had in years: peace. But I was broken. Everything I'd known had collapsed in a matter of weeks. I stopped eating, barely spoke, just cried at night when no one could hear me. My grandmother held me through it all. 10 days later, I returned to school, and everything had changed. Walking back into that school after the suspension felt like stepping into a war zone. I had done nothing wrong, yet every pair of eyes watched me like I was a criminal. My locker had been vandalized. Someone wrote "abuser" across it in red marker. My team benched me until things settled. Teachers were polite, but distant. Friends. What friends? Except one. Her name was Neela. She'd transferred in the previous semester and was quiet, but fierce. She'd never been particularly close to me, but she gave me a nod when I passed her that day. A real nod, not the nervous, wide-eyed look everyone else gave. The next day, she sat next to me at lunch, said nothing, just passed me a juice box and kept eating. That small act of kindness, I'll never forget it. I focused on school. I threw myself into studying, late nights, and sports. When I could finally rejoin, the guidance counselor pushed me to consider colleges, said my test scores were strong and my athletic ability could land me somewhere good. I didn't have parents to help me apply, so I leaned on my grandmother and Neela. They cheered me on while I filled out form after form. Then the scholarships started rolling in. I got offers, real ones, good schools, partial rides, full rides, and eventually I got the one I dreamed about since freshman year, a full ride athletic scholarship to a university with one of the top programs in my sport. It felt like winning the lottery. My grandmother cried, Neela screamed. I just stood there in disbelief, and then came the message from Liam. It was short. Heard you got in, congrats. I stared at it for hours. What was I supposed to do? Thank him? Cuss him out? Ignore it? I deleted it. That summer I worked part-time, helped my grandma around the house, and prepared to leave for school. She hugged me so tightly the day I left, I thought my ribs would crack. You show them who you are, she whispered, not who they said you were. College was a revelation. People saw me for me. I made friends, real ones. Professors who valued what I had to say. Teammates who respected my game. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. My grandmother called every week. Neela and I FaceTimed like clockwork. Life wasn't perfect, but it was finally mine. Then, 4 years later, I graduated. Top of my class, with offers waiting for me. I took a job with a starting salary bigger than I ever thought I'd earn. Moved into a cozy apartment. Bought my grandmother a new car. Started building the life I had always dreamed about. That's when the knock came. At my door, late afternoon, a hesitant knock. I opened it. It was Liam. I didn't invite him in. He looked different. Taller maybe, but thinner. More tired. His hair was longer and his clothes looked expensive but worn. He gave me a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. Hey, he said. I didn't respond, just stood there, blocking the door. Eventually I asked, what do you want? He scratched the back of his neck. I was in the area, thought I'd check in. You haven't checked in for almost 10 years. He looked at the ground. Yeah, I know. The silence between us stretched long and awkward. I felt my chest tightening. All the years of pain, of betrayal, of being cast out like garbage. It all bubbled to the surface. I don't know what you think this is, I finally said, but you don't get to just knock and pretend like we're fine. He looked up. I never wanted things to go that way. You made them go that way. I was a kid, he snapped. So was I. But I didn't destroy someone's life just to get more attention. That shut him up. He glanced behind him like he expected someone to be watching. Look, mom and dad are going through some stuff. Dad lost his job, mom's been sick, and things have been tight. They were wondering if you could maybe help out a bit. I blinked, laughed, then blinked again. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You ruined my life, got me kicked out, lied, manipulated, ghosted me for nearly a decade, and now that you're struggling, you want me to, what? Bail you out? He didn't speak. Tell me, did they even ask how I've been all these years? Did they ever admit they were wrong? Still nothing. That's what I thought. I started closing the door. He reached out to stop it. Wait, please. I know I messed up, but we're family. Family forgives. You forgot that when you left me for dead, I said. Family protects. Family tells the truth. Family doesn't throw their own away over lies. His jaw clenched. We were kids. I didn't know they'd take it that far. You watched them do it, and you said nothing. The silence returned. He looked like he had more to say, but I was done. I pulled the door shut. "You made your choice, Liam. Now live with it." And I closed it in his face. I locked the deadbolt and leaned against it, shaking. I didn't cry, not this time, but that wasn't the end of it. 3 days later, I got a letter. Handwritten, no return address, but the handwriting was familiar. My mother's. It started with "Dear Daughter," which already set the tone. She never called me by name. She went on about how she and Dad were struggling, how times were hard, how Liam was doing his best, and how family should stick together. No apology, not even an acknowledgement of what they'd done to me. She said they heard I had a good job, a nice place, and asked if I could open my heart and maybe send them some help with bills. Said they never stopped loving me. I stared at that line for a long time. Never stopped loving me? Where was that love when you threw me out like trash? Where was it when you let your son lie about me, destroy my reputation, isolate me? Where was it when you watched me cry on the floor, begging you to believe me? I called my grandmother. She still knew everything. She listened quietly while I read the letter out loud. Then she let out a sigh. "They haven't changed," she said. "They just want what they think you're obligated to give." What should I do? She was quiet for a moment. "Whatever lets you sleep at night, baby, but don't you dare carry guilt that doesn't belong to you." That night I didn't sleep much. Memories came in waves. The coldness in my father's voice, the satisfaction in Liam's eyes, the sound of the door slamming behind me. I wrote back, just one sentence. "The love you threw away is not a bank account." I never heard from them directly again, but then the social media campaign started. My aunt, who I hadn't heard from in years, suddenly started tagging me in Facebook posts about family loyalty and forgiveness. I got messages from cousins I didn't even know I had, saying things like blood is thicker than water and we all make mistakes. Liam even posted a picture of us from when we were kids, captioned, "Miss these days, hoping we can find our way back." The comments were filled with people saying how sweet it was, how proud they were that he was trying to mend fences. No one asked why we were estranged in the first place. I stayed quiet. I wanted to scream, to expose everything, to shout from the rooftops how they left me, betrayed me, gaslit me into thinking I deserved it. But I didn't, because part of healing isn't about proving your pain. It's about choosing peace over noise, choosing your future over their narrative. I deleted Facebook, blocked the numbers, blocked the emails, but not before I forwarded the letter to my boss, just in case they ever tried to show up at my job and twist the story. They took everything from me once. They don't get to take my peace too. And just when I thought things were finally quiet again, it got worse. My grandmother called me, her voice trembling. They showed up at my house. My stomach dropped. "Who?" "Your parents, Liam. They said they wanted to talk. They were loud, pushy. I told them to leave, but they said they'd keep trying, that you owe them." That word, "owe," it echoed in my head like a fire alarm. I didn't owe them a thing. They owed me an apology, a childhood, 100 missed birthdays, and hugs they never gave. But debt? That wasn't mine to carry. I took the next day off work, installed a camera at my grandmother's door, called a lawyer. I wasn't gonna let this escalate. I made a post online, not naming names, but sharing my side. Thousands of strangers read it, and the comments poured in. Support, empathy, people who had lived the same thing. Some even thanked me for speaking up, for showing them they weren't alone. And maybe that was the only good thing to come out of all this. The reminder that I am not what they tried to convince me I was. I am not a villain. I am not ungrateful. I am not broken. I survived them, and now I thrive without them. They didn't come back after the lawyer sent them a cease and desist. I made it clear, legally and emotionally, that the chapter was closed. Any further harassment would result in restraining orders. My grandmother never heard another knock at her door, and I never received another email, letter, or pathetic plea through social media. I thought it would feel like revenge, like triumph, but mostly it felt quiet. There's a strange kind of grief in realizing that the people who raised you are no longer your family, maybe never were, that they loved a version of you that didn't exist and hated the real you for daring to grow beyond their control. Some days I miss having a brother, not Liam, but the idea of him, the way twins are supposed to have each other's backs. That built-in best friend dynamic we see in movies, the one I never had. Instead, I got a mirror image who saw my achievements as threats, my happiness as an insult, and my pain as an opportunity. My therapist said that closure isn't something that arrives wrapped in a bow. It's something you construct yourself, piece by piece, boundary by boundary, so I built mine. I took the vacation I'd been putting off, hiked through Oregon with just a backpack and a journal. I wrote down every lie they told me, every name they called me, every moment that tried to define my worth. And then I wrote down who I became despite them. I became someone kind, someone resilient, someone who built a future with their own hands, someone who doesn't scream for attention, but commands it anyway. I started volunteering at a youth shelter. Kids in the system. Some kicked out. Some runaways. Some with bruises you could see, others with ones that live deep in their souls. I don't tell them my whole story, but I listen. I make them feel heard. I see them the way I needed to be seen. And I think maybe that's the closure I was looking for. One day I walked past a local bookstore and saw a sign. Family doesn't end in blood. I stopped, took a picture, and smiled. Because that's what I've built now. A new family, my people, my tribe, friends who bring soup when I'm sick, coworkers who show up to my birthdays, my grandma always cheering me on from her little blue armchair with a cat on her lap, and most importantly, a version of me that no longer flinches when the past knocks. That's the crossroads I'm standing at now. Do I continue walking forward, or do I keep glancing back to see if they've changed? I think you already know the answer. I leave the door closed. But the windows, they're wide open. Because I want the light, not the shadows.